Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be centered on Disney Vacation Club resorts and my experience with the Disney Vacation Club rooms. I hope you find this video informative, as if you are staying in a Disney Vacation Club property in the upcoming years, you may notice the same things that I've noticed, and I feel like this should be informative for you if you are going to be using Disney Vacation Club points to stay in these villas. I also wanted to share some pros and cons of each resort that I've personally stayed in, which includes Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jambo House, Old Key West, Bay Lake Tower, Aulani, Saratoga Springs, and villas at Grand Californian. If you like this video, please like this video, comment down below what resorts you've stayed at, and share this video with others who are planning a Disney Vacation Club stay in the upcoming year or two, as the information I'm sharing to you may be outdated in about a year. Again, I do feel like I make these videos so I can share my experience and inform you about what could possibly happen during your stay with the Disney Vacation Club resorts. Thank you so much. So the first resort that I've ever stayed at would be the Disney Vacation Club property, Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jambo House. Now, Animal Kingdom Lodge has two parts, DVC parts, Jambo House and Kidani Village. Jambo House is the main Animal Kingdom Lodge resort for Disney World. When you walk into Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jambo House, it is going to have a grand lobby. This lobby spans maybe 3 stories, and it can go down to the first floor all the way up to the 6th floor. The main floor is the 3rd floor, and as you walk to the back of the lobby, you're going to see animal lookouts. So I really like how in the lobby you can see animals from the lobby, but if you want to, there are animal lookouts if you go down to the 1st floor, out and outside. There are great restaurants at Jambo House, including Mara, Boma, and Jiko, and Kidani Hasana. I personally only eaten at Mara and Boma. Mara for lunch and Boma for dinner. I really enjoyed both my meals there. Offer a wide variety of foods. Rooms. So the DVC rooms are specifically on the 5th and 6th floors, so you'll have to go up a couple floors using the elevator or the stairs to get to your rooms. Now there's 4 different categories, which I think is a pro. You can have 4 different options and 4 different types of vacations. So the first one, which is the lowest points, is going to be the value rooms, which can have a view of the parking lot, the pool, or a savannah. If you're trying to get a studio or a 2-bedroom lock-off, you need to do this at 11-month mark. If you get a 1-bedroom, I have seen those easier to get. 10 months, 9 months, they're pretty much gone by 9 months or 8 months. You could get a day here or there, but if you want to get consecutive days, definitely plan these rooms in advance. What I like is just that they can use less points. Even though the rooms are a little bit smaller, I feel that I get value from the value rooms. Now, there also is going to be standard rooms, which can get you some obstructed views of the savannah. And with Jambo House, because of the value rooms and how the DVC rooms are located, you are going to see a little bit of savannah from every standard room. You are also going to get savannah view rooms, dedicated savannah views. These rooms are going to have giraffes in the morning or in the night. You can see zebras, the Ankole cattle. You're going to see all the animals from your room. Now there are different trails of the rooms can be in, and I haven't stayed in a dedicated savannah room to know which trail is going to be the better. Now, with Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jambo House, you have an option of staying in a club level room, which is the only resort DVC has that has club level access. Those are about 5 studios and 5 1-bedrooms, makes 10 lock-offs. These rooms are super hard to get, and they're very costly using points, because you can have access to the club level lounge, which I feel is a pro if you want to have a more luxurious stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge. You're not going to the parks, you're able to eat the food that they provide for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think that these are the pros. Now, while I do praise Jambo House highly, I do know that there's going to be a lot of cons with staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I do want to share those with you. The first one is going to be talking about the rooms. Now, if you ever have stayed at an Animal Kingdom Lodge room with DVC, you know that they recently got a soft goods refurbishment about 8 years ago. Now, it is time for a full goods refurb, but hasn't been done yet and is not currently in the plans. So they desperately need a pull-down Murphy bed like they have in all the other refurbishments, because the couch is very uncomfortable if you're staying in the living room. The rooms are pretty dark and without light from the outside in certain categories. Like, I was in a pool view, the light was hard to get in and it was really hard to see the room during the day. Also, with Animal Kingdom Lodge, the location is very far away from almost everything else in the Walt Disney World Resort. Even Animal Kingdom park itself is going to be at least a 5-minute drive and a bus ride away. It's not really walkable to any parks, and I feel like if you were to stay here, you would benefit from a rental car, which is a con because part of Disney Vacation Club and staying on property is that you can use bus transportation and resort transportation. The last thing is that parking at the actual resort is pretty far away from rooms. You have to walk all the way from the parking lot to the lobby and then to your room, which can be kind of far down the hall. The next resort I wanted to talk about is the second resort I've stayed in, which has been Old Key West. It is the original Disney Vacation Club resort, originally named Disney Vacation Club Resort. What I feel is a pro about this resort is that the rooms are among the biggest in the DVC collection. When they first began, they wanted to make these rooms like a actual home feel, so they're a little bit bigger. The building locations are a little bit spaced out, so it feels more like a home or an apartment, kind of complex, so more like a timeshare. The patios in the 1 and 2 bedrooms are pretty spacious and can fit multiple people, which I personally like when you're out watching the golf or looking at a pond. It's really nice to have that space just to relax in the evening. Now, Old Key West does have a community hall, as it being the original Disney Vacation Club property. In terms of food, you have Olivia's, which we used mobile order for, so we were in our room, we mobile ordered Olivia's, we went to go pick it up and brought it back to the room. It was a really nice option for us, as if we didn't want to sit down at Olivia's. You can also take a boat ride to Disney Springs from the Hospitality House. Old Key West also has a golf course for those who like to golf, and the point charts. The pro of Old Key West is that the first DVC resort, they did not know how many points were going to be needed for each stay and how the inflation was going to go up. So Old Key West is the lowest point charts that I have seen for room categories, besides the Animal Kingdom value rooms, as I mentioned previously. Old Key West does have some cons though, and I'll get to those in just a minute. Now, while Old Key West was the first resort, there have been a lot of changes in Disney Vacation Club properties to make them better. So, for the first thing that I've noticed is that while updated rooms, there's not a lot of amenities and like a pull-down bed. And if you've ever been in a 1-bedroom or a studio or 2-bedroom unit at Old Key West, there's a lot of windows. So I personally don't know how they would lay out the rooms to add the pull down bed unless they were to reconfigure all the buildings and close some of the windows down, but then the rooms would be darker. So that's just a con about the resort, is that it's going to be really hard to make those pull down beds happen. Now, because it was made in 1991, 1992, the buildings are older. So, the walls were a little bit thin, so we did hear a lot of noise. The family above us was making a lot of noise. It was really hard to go to bed. Also, the plumbing, we did have an issue with the jetted tub, and we know it wasn't really used in a while, and there was some black gunk that was coming out of the jets. And I just think that the plumbing in the resort may be a little older and needs to be fixed, or if maintenance was to every month go through all the tubs and make sure that the plumbing worked perfectly, I think that would also add a plus to the resort. And in terms of location, while I do like that it's pretty secluded, most of the buildings in the actual resort are far away from the hospitality house, where you have the restaurants, the gift shop, the main lobby, the amenities like the community hall, and the boats to Disney Springs. So you will have to either drive to the hospitality house, or you would have to take a pretty far walk up to the hospitality house. And what I feel is the last con is going to be the lack of on-site dining reservations. Besides Olivia's, there's not really that much dining happening. I feel when they made the resort, they wanted you to cook in your rooms, but at the end of the night of a long park day, if they had a nice quick service location, they do have good foods to go, but I feel like something around the resort, like the Turtle Shack that could be open a lot longer, would have a benefit to this resort. So we stayed at Bay Lake Tower in the second half of our trip. So we first stayed in Old Key West and then moved over to Bay Lake Tower. And my comparison between the two is like night and day almost from our experience back in 2021. While our one bedroom at Old Key West was really spacious, I did like how spacious the rooms were in Bay Lake Tower, and that those rooms with one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom do get an extra bathroom in them, which does add a perk to over the Old Key West Resort. We had a lake view, but requested to get a north facing view room, which we did get, and that had views of Magic Kingdom and Bay Lake, but the categories are standard, lake, and theme park view, so you can get a dedicated Magic Kingdom view, or you can get a dedicated Bay Lake view. The rooms are very quiet, and our experience, we didn't hear any noises from our neighbors, from the people above us, from below us, from the sides, which made a really nice experience from our 2 nights at Old Key West. Now, I did like the design of the kitchen. It is open concept with an island in the middle. It kind of made for a good eating area. It wasn't really cramped, and you could go to the table, which also had a lot of space for our family. Bay Lake Tower does have a community hall at the bottom on the first floor of the lobby. And a pro of Bay Lake Tower is that it is the closest resort to Magic Kingdom, walking distance about a 6 to 7 minute walk to the gates of the Magic Kingdom. I don't think, even with the Grand Floridian, I don't think that you could beat that walk. Now you can take walk to the Contemporary Resort, to the monorail, to get to the TTC, and then get to Epcot, so you do have ability to get to potentially 2 or even 3 if you want to walk from Epcot to Hollywood Studios. Now, while Bay Lake Tower is a plus in many regards, there are some cons, and my travel parties, family members have shared some cons at each of the resorts we've stayed at. For the one would be that the tower style resort can feel more like a traditional hotel, not really a themed hotel. Many people do think that the Bay Lake Tower hallways are pretty sterile. They're white, they're clean. They don't really have a lot of artwork in them, not until you get to the rooms where you see the artwork. So that is a con. Now with the rooms, there's still no pull down beds. They are going to be getting a refurbishment in 2024. So excited to see what those rooms will look like in that refurbishment process. The Bay Lake Tower pool is smaller, but you can use Contemporary's pool, so that is a little con because I would like to have a nice pool at the resort I'm staying at. Some views are going to be looking at the parking lot, especially those standard views. And if you're looking at the lower lake view rooms, you may only get a view of the pool area. There is a smaller lobby, so there's not that many chairs to sit and wait around if you are early for your room. And the point charts can be a little bit more on the high side most of the year, especially when you're in those theme park view rooms. Standard view is going to be the lowest points, but compared to other Disney Vacation Club properties, the standard price is a little bit higher. The next resort we stayed at would be Aulani, and we stayed there in 2022. What I liked about Aulani is the location, specifically being on the western side of Oahu. It is more remote. I did not like the feel of Waikiki. It was very busy. There was a lot of cars. It did not feel relaxing. And so I do like how Aulani has a private lagoon that it shares with the Four Seasons resort, so there's not that many people that are using the lagoon at any given time, so we were able to utilize that a couple times in our trip. I feel like the western side of Oahu does have more consistent weather, so you can travel year round without having too much interruptions. Like in Florida, you do have hurricane season, and you can have chilly periods in California, so having the same consistent weather does make a pro for your vacation. Also, the rooms, you do get great views of the island or of the ocean for most of the rooms. You will be able to see the luau from your room if you have specific island garden views. And also, the rooms do have unique layouts. Some of them are more at a diagonal level, some are more like rectangle shaped, so you can kind of get a different feel from each of your rooms on how they're laid out. Also, with the resort amenities, you do get that lazy river, you have the snorkeling, there are a lot of kids activities, there's the food and beverage, which I really enjoyed. They have a number of pools. They have a lot of play splash areas for kids to go in. It just overall makes the resort so much better. Similar to Animal Kingdom Lodge, there are 4 booking categories. There is Standard Island Garden, Pool View, and the Ocean View. Technically, there's a 5th view because it's like a hotel room, but for the main part of the DVC units is going to be the 4 booking categories, so the points are kind of spread out, and the Standard and Island Garden View, in my opinion, are pretty reasonable to use your points on. The Garden and the Ocean View can get pretty high in certain parts of the year. Now, while I do not really want to criticize Aulani because of the location, but I do feel like part of staying in Hawaii is that everything is accessible. So Aulani being very far away, about 40 minutes west of the airport, you do need to find transportation, whether it's a taxi or a rental car or a shuttle possibly in some instances. And also being on the western side of the island, you are pretty far away from all the tourist attractions if you do want to have a day trip to do a hike or just to kind of see waterfalls or to do any tours. So the rooms, they're not updated quite yet, and with pull-down beds being a good perk in the latest refurbishment, I do think Aulani should have some sort of pull-down bed. It would really improve those rooms. And depending on the room type, you may not have enough lighting, so rooms can get pretty dark during the day. We did have a standard view that the way it faced, it did not get the morning sun or the evening sun, and so you had to use lighting during the day in the room. So the next resort we stayed at would be Saratoga Springs. Now this is one of our home resorts, so we do have a lot of pros and when we stay here, although our last trip was our first trip. For the location, it is near Disney Springs and Epcot. If you are driving, there are boats to Disney Springs and there are a number of resort pools, so almost no matter what neighborhood you are in, you are going to have a pool by your room, which is really nice. For the rooms themselves, there's 18 buildings and there are about 3 to 4 stories tall. So you do get that apartment like feeling. You get to park in front of your building and it's not a very long walk to your room. They're recently refurbished, so you do get that pull down bed, which we do prefer as traveling to Walt Disney World. Also, our rooms did feel clean, and if there was any problems, the maintenance did come within a day to fix those problems, which was a pro for us. Now with the point charts, we felt that the time we went was very low, and if not, during the higher times are pretty reasonable because you do get that standard building or preferred building. There are also tree houses which offer a unique living arrangement, but the point chart is pretty low for the amount of space that you get and the unique accommodations. The last point for the pros will be the amenities. You are by the golf course, so if you like to golf, you can rent golfing equipment and a golf cart and drive around the area. There also is a community hall that is in the center building as well as the main area for the DVC Preview Center. So if you like to go look at model rooms, you are able to do so there as well as talk to DVC guides. They're readily available at Saratoga Springs Resort. Now, Saratoga Springs is known as the resort of last resorts because it is so big and the inventory is so large that you can get rooms pretty available, and with that there seems to be a lot of cons, and I listed some cons here. And being that it's the largest DVC collection, if you are in the standard buildings such as the carousel, or where we stayed in was the grandstand, but the farthest building of the grandstand, you can be pretty far away from amenities. And for us, it took about a 5-minute walk just to get to the bus station. Rather, if you were in a more preferred location, the bus station may be right outside of your building. Also, bus transportation to parks, unless you drive a car, is the only option. So you will be having to wait for buses, although they do come pretty frequently because that is the only mode of transportation. But at the end of the night, when the buses are full, or in the morning when everybody's trying to get to the parks, you might have to wait a time. Specifically, that with the grandstand is the first stop, and then the preferred sections of the resort are the last stop. Do keep that in mind. You can walk to other bus stops if you want to be one of the first ones on the bus as well, but that just adds time to your early morning or late night commute. Now, we do have a con with the rooms. Even though they were recently refurbished, we did feel that the kitchen was pretty tight in terms of space for the max amount of people available in the room. For us, we had a 2-bedroom, and when we had 8 or 9 people in the room, the kitchen did feel pretty tight. There was not a lot of extra chairs unless you put up the pull down bed, and then you can use that couch space for those 8 people. But at night when you're trying to get to bed and there's people in the kitchen, it did feel pretty crammed. Also, we did have a hard time getting the pull down bed. It was kind of creaking, and it just took a lot more effort than we had expected it to take. Now, The latest resort we've stayed at has been the villas at Disney's Grand Californian in Anaheim, and there are a lot of pros to the Grand Californian that I'd like to talk about today. The first being the location in the center of Disneyland Resort. You're right next to Disney's California Adventure. You're almost in the theme park, but not of the theme park. And some of the rooms of the hotel side are part of the downtown Disney district. There are also rooms right next to the Pixar Pier entrance, which are the DVC specific rooms. If you just walk outside that bottom level there, you're right next to that entrance. And with the rooms, our pro that we saw was that the extra bathroom in the 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, which does help with larger parties. And we did like that the rooms did bring in that wood craftsman style lodge feel that did have some cozy and homey feeling to the resort. And even with Disneyland, I would call Grand Californian the flagship resort. It is the most expensive of the 3 resorts. The rooms did feel outdated. They did not have those pull down beds. There was light touches of Disney, and for a Disneyland specific hotel, I would want some sort of nods to Disneyland or to California Adventure. They mainly had theming of like Pinocchio or Bambi, which you don't ever really see in the park, so I guess in a way that could be a plus. But as for me, if I'm staying at a Disney resort, I kind of want to know that I'm staying in a Disney resort. It could be with some artwork on the walls or some just touches in the bathroom. And also, if your room is alongside the Pixar Pier, our room was, you do get to hear that noise at night. So if you're trying to go to bed around 8 or 9 o'clock, they do play World of Color. As long as there's the Goofy Sky School just right there, that could cause some noise at the evening hours if you're trying to sleep. And the last point that I felt like was a con on our stay was just the point charts. Besides staying in January and February, the point charts are pretty high, especially if you're staying in like that March, spring break, and even all of summer is a pretty high amount of points to stay at Grand Californian. And so for most members, the number of points required will take a couple years worth of points to stay just a few nights there. I know that when we stayed there in May, it was a relatively lower point, but even with the 1 bedroom we stayed at, it was about 39 points per night, which is relatively high compared to other 1 bedroom category rooms. Okay, I do want to thank you for watching all of this video. If you have any questions, again, please leave them down in the comments below, and please share your experiences staying in the Disney Vacation Club properties. Thank you so much.